Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to I almost messed up my own title. The Ultimate Manifest Station Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Robert Grant. It's usually automatic, but you know what? That's good because that helps me to be mindful sometimes if you make a mistake, because then you have to really be one with your words. So, hello to everybody from the east, west, north, and south. Whether you're listening to this past, actually not in the past, but rather the present or the future, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for connecting. Thank you for listening in. Your presence here matters so much, and I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to share it with you. And so, with that being said, let's get into today's topic, and it's one of my favorites because I've been doing it. So much here for the last few episodes of the podcast, and that is intention, right? And that's really discovering the intention, the power of intention, and realizing that intention is a catalyst to manifestation, especially to the manifestation of the stuff that we desire, right? So in truly being able to understand the pure joy of that, right, and the greatness behind it, I felt like it was of great significance to be able to have an episode to where we could put this into play, so to speak, or we could basically just give you more insight and information on how to set an intention. Okay, and so let's kind of go through that. First things first, I want to tell you a story real quick about how my experience with intention, and when it's worked really well, and then when it's taken forever, and what I've discovered within it that kind of held it up and didn't allow it to manifest as quickly as I thought it should have. So I can remember back in about 2006, I had got this inkling, this intuitive nudge to move from Louisiana to Los Angeles, California, because I had started, was it 2006? Actually, no, it was a bit long later than that, now that I remember, because I started seriously acting in 2007. So in honesty, I would honestly say it was about the end of 2008, early 2009. And this was a time where I was manifesting a lot of gigs as an actor. And so it kind of came so quickly that I really thought to myself, you know what, I kind of want to take that next step, move to that next level. So I got the inkling to go to LA. And what kind of solidified this in my mind was when I visited in May of 2007. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the place that I need to be. This is where I want to be. New Orleans has nothing for me anymore, but New Orleans is truly wonderful, and I love it. But at the time, I really wanted to be in LA. So I set that intention without even really knowing I was setting an intention. I was like, I'm moving to LA. I'm moving to LA. Well, it seemed like every time I got the gumption to sort of take action on it, something fell through, right? And looking back on it, so many things fell through. And it was often because ultimately I wasn't ready to make such a big move up until the time that it actually happened. And the one thing I love about the universe when you align yourself with it is when you align yourself with Source, Source will always ensure that the decisions that you make are in your highest good. And when you go and veer off path, it's going to pull you right back on the right path, right? The aligned path, rather. And so, or not maybe pull, but just nudge. And that's kind of what happened. So I had that idea about going to LA, and it always fell through, and it was so discouraging. But yet and still, I was still booking things in New Orleans and in Louisiana in general, and Mississippi and other places as well in the Southeast. And it was really exciting. It was a really exciting time, but it was always in the back of my mind, like, I really want to get to LA. Like, how do I do it? And then finally, May of 2011 came, and I was on my high horse to the West Coast, and I made it. And it was ugly, but I made it to Los Angeles. And so, in looking back at that story and thinking about the intention, right? There's a few things here that I didn't include that I'm going to cover here in just a few moments. One, by just setting the intention, I'm moving to LA, meant that I could be moving to LA in 20 years, not at the present moment when I actually want it to happen. See, because if you know nothing else, know this about manifestation. When you're dealing with the universe, be very, very, very specific, right? Because the laws that it works under are very specific, and they're absolutely infallible in every sense of the word. So if you don't say something specifically, you could get something else, like I did. It took me 2 or 3 years to actually move. Now, it paid off in my favor, but I'm like, couldn't this have come any sooner? But the truth of the matter is it couldn't, right? And it came at the right time, and everything worked out way better than I could have ever even thought of or imagined it could. And that's divine providence right there. So, but there were a few things that I really feel, rather, that could have been different, that I could have done in order to allow this to manifest maybe at an earlier time. And so it got back to the intention. And one, the intention wasn't present. 2, I wasn't giving gratitude for it. 3, I wasn't if I'm truly honest with myself, I wasn't asking for the divine guidance and praying. And when I say prayer, I mean scientific prayer, which is just intention. I wasn't doing that every single day. And I was just kind of like waiting for something to happen. And I feel like that may have stymied, right? That may have stymied things a bit, right? So looking at that experience, I could see everything that wasn't present. I'm going to explain that to you in just a bit. And now I'm going to give you an example of when I used this, and it actually worked extremely well, extremely well, and extremely fast. And there's a few factors within it that really kind of allow it to accelerate itself and speed itself up. And so a few episodes ago, I was talking about how my friend Katie, I just finished playing football, and, I was done. Like I said, injuries, every muscle, bone imaginable hurting. I had to retire from it, and it was a really sad time. But after I kind of got back up to speed with my health and got back up to speed with everything else, I really thought about what it is that I wanted to do as I was working my Hollister, retail job. And I really realized, what? I'd like to be a performer again. I remember I was going through all the stuff that I liked, that I loved when I was a kid. And one of the most vivid memories was dancing on stage for the entire school and their families and friends at the spring fair. And that was one of my favorite moments, right? I was too chicken shit to say it, but it was one of my favorite moments because I loved being on stage. I loved being a performer. So I'm like, you know what? I want to perform again, and I want to perform right now. And sure enough, and it's so funny because it's only retrocognition that allows you to kind of see that these things are happening when you can kind of go back to them and see them from a different perspective because you know a little bit more. You're wiser. And literally, I would say a week or two after that happened, my friend asked me to be in her runway show, and I was like, I had never done this before, and I don't know if I can do it now, and this seems a little bit crazy, But I got a lesson for you. Excuse me. Anytime the universe asks you to do something that you don't think you're qualified for, it's doing that to awaken a dormant talent and ability within you. It has always happened in my life. The universe will awaken something dormant within you by giving you an opportunity to do something you have no idea as to how you're going to do it, or you had never done it before, and it makes you nervous. Jump on the opportunity without hesitation, right? So this was me receiving the intention that I had set, and although a little nervous, I jumped on it, and it wound up being the very best opportunity I could have ever even imagined. So even before I became an actor, I had the opportunity to do, I want to say, I'm getting a picture of my old modeling resume, and honestly, I think anywhere from 50 to 75 different shows I did over the course of oh my gosh, 3 to 4 to 5 years. And it was so exciting. It was so exciting to see that happen, right? And I can look back on it and say that it was a time that was really special in my life because I got to do what I love to do, and that was perform. And it was just truly amazing. So enough of me tooting my own horn. Let's get into why these things worked and why they didn't work. So I'm going to give you how to truly set a proper intention. Okay? So the first thing you have to do is you got to have clarity, right? You got to have clarity. And so in looking back, when I set the intention to move to LA, I didn't say what part of LA I was moving to. I didn't say what time I was moving to. I didn't say when I was moving to LA. I left all of those key elements out. So the universe just has this, I want to move to LA intention. And I want just means that it continues to elude you and elude you and elude you till you finally build up enough desire to go and get it. So that was one of the biggest mistakes. So what do? To not do that, you get clarity and you get specific, right? Just don't say, I want a successful business. Say, I want a successful business as an entrepreneur who goes to talks to different groups of people, who coaches them, who writes books, who sells products, who, enlightens the world through his divine or her divine light. That is the type of clarity you want, because then it will allow that to come through your life faster, right? So, for an example, the other day, this is like a couple months ago, maybe towards the end of last year. It all kind of just jumbles together. But I set an intention that I wanted to be grounded and more connected to the earth and to the universe, and I wanted my inner knowing to just be wide open. So what happens? Well, it was more specific than that. I think I wanted to be wide open so I could receive messages from the divine, so I could talk to spirit regularly, so I can interpret dreams and find out the symbolism of dreams. And sure enough, I would say in a matter of 1 or 2 months, because it was specific, it happened, and it happened in the very best way possible. My brother told me about a dream he had, and immediately I interpreted it right away. And now all of a sudden, all these like different metaphorical situations happen in my life, and I'm able to interpret them, right? But it was because I set the intention. I was clear on the intention, right? So present tense. It has to be present tense. Why? Because the universe only understands now. And now. And now. And now. It only understands now. It only knows now. It doesn't know the past, right? Time does not exist through universal law. Past, present, and future all are in one, happening at the same time, concurrently, in a quantum type way, right? So if you understand that, that means that stuff is just energy until it's observed upon, right? That's why it's so important for you to really be on top of your feelings and your thoughts and your emotions, because, you know, nothing ever is created until you start observing it. And if you observe it long enough, guess what? I had to stutter a bit. You know, you're going to get that thing. So understand that it's all pure potential energy until you inject your thoughts and feelings into it, right? Okay. So we talked about clarity. We talked about being present, making sure your intention is present. So that's always present moment. That's I am, I have, I am being, you know, always present tense when you set the intention. The next thing is gratitude, right? So it's a well-known law, especially in the spaces of law of attraction and, you know, self-awareness, self-improvement, and all that other stuff, that actually even in the Bible, you have to embody something emotionally and mentally. You have to embody it if you're going to manifest that thing. Okay? You have to embody it first in your energy field if you're going to manifest that thing. And what does that mean? That means that it has to already be an experience on the inside of you in order for you to see it in its entirety in a physical way, right? So how do you do that? Easy. You just give thanks for it. Like, I look back on that trip, if I would have known, you know, and this was different around the time, this is one of the key things that was different around the time when I was modeling or had the opportunity to model, is I was giving thanks that this was already unfolding for me. I was giving thanks that it was already unfolding. And in that gratitude, what I'm saying to myself and to the universe that's allowing all the events to conspire together, I'm saying that I already have it. This is why gratitude is so important, right? It's so important. It allows you to already have this thing in mind, body, spirit, and soul. That's why you have to give thanks, right? Okay. Moving right along. And this is my favorite part. I never said that it would happen in my highest good for me moving to LA. Never said it would happen in my highest good. Now, it all really, really worked out extremely well. But there was some struggle, there was some pain, there were some unfortunate instances and circumstances that unfolded that, like, literally almost drove me to going back home. And I think if my intention would have been set as in my highest good and the highest good of all concerned, manifesting easily, effortlessly, under grace, in a perfect way, I would have been home free. But the truth of the matter is, I didn't say any of that, so it just kind of came, right? So here I am driving to Los Angeles. I think it's like a 26-hour drive from New Orleans to North Hollywood, where I was going. And I'm in the middle of nowhere in Texas. and my debit card is shut off. The bank shuts off my debit card because I never took the time to call them to let them know that I was traveling. And literally, I'm not sure how I'm going to get gas or anything, because I'm trying to like save the cash that I do have. Oh, case in point, I only had $263 to my name when I left. I know I'm just crazy, but the desire was there. But all that stuff could have been avoided if I set the proper intention, right? If I set the proper intention. And so you look at the flip side of that coin. Everything worked out, by the way, but it was very challenging. You look at the flip side of that with the whole modeling thing. One of my close friends asked me to do this, which meant that she already had in her mind that I could do it. So I already had that motivation. Secondly, it wound up being a paying job. It wound up being, something that I could do outside of the job that I was working. It allowed me to meet so many really cool people. It gave me a relationship to a nightclub owner that really affected, my life in a really amazing way over the next few years. So it really came out to be something truly spectacular. Now that I look back on it, but it was because I set that intention properly, right? I set that intention properly, and it allowed the manifestation to come easy. So, with that being said, let's go over everything that you need in order to set a proper intention, and then from there, right? As this guy is like outside cutting grass and stuff. So funny. From there, after I go over all the components of a powerful intention, we will do our own intention before we leave here today. Okay? All right. So once again, clarity. Got to have clarity. Got to know what you want, right? And be specific. And it's important, if you can, just do one thing at a time, right? Do one thing at a time. And once you have that nudge, because you'll always get a nudge when you know that this thing is going to manifest, move on to something else, because then the energy is freed up for you to be able to move forward with something else, okay? So clarity. Got to be so very specific in every sense of the word. So very specific, right? If there's no specificity, say that 10 times fast, you're going to wind up permeating into different areas of your manifestation. It's going to look all deformed and whatnot when it shows up, right? So clarity is one. Number two is gratitude, okay? Gratitude. Be thankful for it. Know that it's already done. Know that the universe is already working to bring it to pass, and it's already here. By doing so, you set yourself up to win, and to win big. All right? And then lastly, we didn't even really give this a name, but you want an easy manifestation. So easily, effortlessly, and in a comforting, joyful way. And then I said lastly, but there's one more actually. And the last part is that it comes by divine order, which is under grace in a perfect way in the highest good of all concerned. And once you do that, you will start having stuff show up at your door, which is the most amazing thing when it happens like that, when it just kind of comes to you, but it's because you've covered all of the components that you've needed to in order to watch this to happen in the very best way possible. So with that being said, let's get into an intention. All right? So we're going to do this hookup thing where you take your middle finger on your right hand, place it in between your eyebrows on your third eye, and you're going to take the middle finger on your left hand, and you're going to place it on your heart. And you know what? I actually just forgot something that I just remembered. I'm going to share with you right now. Compassion. Start with compassion first. Right after you have your clarity, start with compassion. And I just want you to feel into compassion right now, whether it's compassion for yourself, compassion for somebody you know, compassion for a family member that has passed on, or a friend, whatever it may be. Start with compassion first and foremost, because what compassion does, compassion frees up our energy. Compassion puts us into a place of ease, and it's the emotion of the universe because it's so closely tied into love. So start with compassion. Take a few deep breaths and really connect, right? Think about that compassion and feel into it. Good. And right after that compassion, after you felt that, I'm going to set our intention. Dearest God in me, supreme infinite intelligence of each and every one of our subconscious minds. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your presence, for your love, for everything that you offer, and for your ability to manifest all intentions, for your ability to bring forth all things that we truly desire as we go through this life as a spiritual being having a human experience. It is our intention to easily and effortlessly manifest the intentions that are near and dear to our hearts under grace in a perfect way, in a way that is in the highest good for us and all concerned. And so it is. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure. We will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.